There's a lot in this piece of code. A lot. So let me go over it. For now, I'm going to be creating all of the instances of our new data type, date, within the main. I don't have to, but I'm doing it right now for simplicity's sake. See the main, so I'm going to block this off real quick. So you see that I have a global variable name size, you see my struct, you see my prototypes and main. The order is actually really important here because, as you know, you got to declare a variable first in C++ before you can read it because it's top down. So notice the struct is kind of high on this list before I get into the prototypes and especially the main. Now, the struct is also high because maybe in some of the prototypes, which we'll get into a little bit later, maybe I need to pass in the object into them. It needs to know what date is going to be. Starting from the struct, again, there's no change in the code that I just showed you previously. There's int, month, day, and year, but again, make sure that you know what the order is going to be, okay? I have a prototype, which I'll go over later. Really, I don't think it interferes with anything that we're doing here. And then we get into the main. There's really two ways of creating an instance. First of all, number one, we got to use the DATE. And again, C++ will now realize, okay, we have a new object called date. Wonderful. I give it a variable letter, okay? And then I can spell out each one of the data members, month, day, and year, by using the dot notation that we've actually covered before in strings. Now, by the way, notice that month, day, and year do not have parentheses behind them because these are variables, not functions. Now, that also means that I can change those values anytime that I want. And that's good, that's okay. You know, that makes me a little nervous as a programmer for many, many years, but for what level that we're at right now, that's fine, no big deal. So that's one way of spelling it all out. The other way is doing it all in one shot. Almost looks like somewhat like an array here, where I have Lupoli and Ryan, 12/30/1970, and then 6/11/1984. But what's really important is the order of these need to match the order that I have here, which is month, day, and year. So that 12 is going to be month, day is going to be 30, and year is 1970. Yes, my birthday, yeah, it sucks. But anyway, so Christmas, yeah, whatever. Anyway, that's the other way that we can define and create our instances. Now, you see a picture that's coming up as well here. I need you to visualize what the heck is happening in behind the scenes here. Because to be honest with you, the code's not all that hard, but I need you to understand what it is visually, because a lot of us are visual learners, that we've created an object that has these values in it. And the overall structure of the object is exactly the same, but it's the data inside that makes them unique, and that's usually the name of the object. One's going to be Lupoli, one's going to be Ryan, and one's going to be Y, that make all three unique. Here's the next easy part, but important. How do I display the values out of there? Well, I pick an instance, and then put the dot, and then the data member that is you're required to display. So in this case, I am displaying all of Ryan's information. Now, be careful, by the way. If, you know, I'm dyslexic. For some reason, if I put Lupoli.day in there, then it's going to pull my 30 out of there instead of Ryan's. So if you want to specify another object, you just got to give another object name that's already been created and instantiated, and then you'll pull from that. So a lot of deep things in here, the overall structure of the struct, the overall setup of creating an instance, and then displaying the information that's in there. Now, by the way, one last thing. If I wanted to change the value, I would have loved to have been born in June, by the way. Now, you know what? I'll do 12, 25, 20. Let's say if I wanted to change the month to June. So I would have one more line after this that would have y.month equals 6 for June, and then that's it. That's all it is to change an item in a struct. That easy. Which can be good and can be bad, but it's easy so far for our learning experience. Here's our exercise. So reusing the code that I just showed you, and you'll have a link there so you can reach it, I want you to create the code for 4 more instances of the date struct of yourself, your parents, and the friends of it. The info can be fake in C++. Don't recreate the struct. That's the beauty of this, is that in OOP, as long as we design it once, we design it well, then we can reuse that same object over and over and over again. There's an unlimited number of instances that we can pull from one object. What I want you to do is create the code to display the info of the 4 structs that you created, and then draw what they would look like. And your drawing is going to look like this. You saw this before. It's going to look very similar to what you had before. And again, I'm really pushy, especially when we get to objects, that you visually see what's going on. Matter of fact, I'll be honest, if you have a question that comes up, I'm actually going to understand the picture faster than when I understand the code. That's how I personally work out. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. So work on this for a little bit. This should not take you long, so don't just hit pause, or, just keep watching the video. Hit pause, do it real quick, get it running. This is easy. And that's fine with me, okay? Get this working, and we'll go over and answer here in a little bit. Howdy. So let's go ahead and do number 1, which is reusing the code above, already given to you. Create the code for 4 instances, So to be honest with you, save some time, I'm going to do it 2 ways. So I created 1 instance of Bowen, and I put things in squiggly braces. That's one of the ways of doing this. The other part I wanted to show you was very similar to what we did with Y, and that is once we create Blair, and then we can go ahead and do Blair dot. And there's our month variable that we would have. We're going to put in 4 for her. Blair dot, let me do some copying here. Blair dot day, and there's the day that comes up, and I'm going to make that, and then Blair dot year. I already had that, so dot year, there it is. There we go. And 2018. So that's 2 ways of doing at least part number 1 in this exercise. For part number 2, we're going to create the code to display the info of the 4 structs that you created. And again, for shortening of time, just creating 1. But as you start doing the 4, you probably start thinking, geez, that's a lot of code, copy and paste, kind of pain in the neck. You're absolutely right. And further on down in our exploration of structs, I am going to make this easier on you. At first, there's some overhead, but then after that, it'll make it a lot easier for you. So bear with me when it comes to that. And then finally, number 3 is draw what each would look like. You're going to see an image that pops up here. Again, I really need you to understand this visually because you're going to see more visual representations of what objects are going to look like to frankly make it easier on you because, hey, a picture can say 1,000 words. So I want you to start getting used to looking at objects as pictures, as tables, because frankly, it's going to make it easier on you on designing it as well. So that's it for this exercise.